How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? My name is RuffledRowlit, and we've got ourselves some Pokemon leaks to take a look at, so let's get started. First things first, going to be this post right here. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, there are so many different versions of these leaks, so I'm going to go through all the posts I've seen from all the different accounts and stuff, and I'll just kind of summarize everything, and it's going to be a bit of a jumbled mess of a video, but hopefully you guys still are able to follow along. Now, this person here, Pokemon Universe, was able to make a little collage of all the information, so he just basically said he collected the information that was put out by Kurawashi, who's this new leaker that's came out with a bunch of information. And we're going to check Kurawashi's account as well, because he's been tweeting a few things. Now, one of the biggest things he tweeted was the fact that we're going to get around like 300 new Pokemon in Pokemon Winds and Waves. But here is some of the new stuff that we've learned. So here is as follows: new discoveries and rumored features. Number one, new regional evolutions are coming. So yes, new regional evolutions. Think of something like Electabuzz getting Elekid as a pre-evolution, or Electabuzz getting a Electivire as an evolution, right? That was a regional evolution of sorts. That didn't happen prior, but happened in a later generation. So, same thing here. But apparently, it's going to be weird, though, because it's going to give Onix a new one. Onix will get a brand new regional evolution, which is interesting. They don't mention typing-wise. I guess it's just going to stay rock, or I mean, I guess it's going to gain something new. We don't know what, though. So, Onix getting a new one is going to be pretty huge. Houndour getting a new one. So, Houndour will get a new, brand new regional evolution, which is interesting because you already have Houndoom, so curious to see what the deal is there. Zweilous, that's a big one. That's a pretty big one. We'll get a brand new original evolution. I mean, you know, it's fair enough. We already have a Hydreigon, but that's still a big one. Then Salandit is probably the one you already know about because it's already been mentioned before. But Salandit getting probably a male form as a brand new evolution is something we've also heard about. Then the last thing is apparently in the current build that the leaker has seen, there is an Eevee and a Tropius mention. At least in the current build, there don't seem to be a new evolution. There don't seem to be any of these. Sorry, not are, but aren't. So no new Eevee form and no new Tropius form, which I think Tropius was the most rumored one. However, the next thing. Apparently, explore the depths. Discover underwater areas. It's a stunning new coral reef. Underwater points of interest like Neon Abyss. A Glimwood Tangle style coral reef awaits beneath the surface, which is cool. The only thing that sucked about Glimwood Tangle is the fact that you couldn't really explore. It was very much just like a on the rails experience, right? It was like a little mini roller coaster of sorts, like a Disney ride for children, with not really a lot of exploration to be done, but design-wise, Glimwood Tangle looked beautiful. Like, it genuinely, I cannot deny that it looked beautiful for, like, aesthetically speaking. So that would be cool if you had something similarly looking to that, which we already seen the coral reefs from the trailer. Also, though, reach new heights. There will be areas of the world you can fly you can only reach by flying. Take to the skies and soar beyond the limits of the land, which also sounds about right. And of course, he says shinies return. Shinies are back in the overworld, so the iconic shiny sound is going to be there. Spot them sparkling in the wild and hear the unmistakable sound. So that's nothing too crazy. Sounds about right. Then they say that both legendaries, one story. Now, both legendary Pokemon are featured in both games and play a central role in the story. Just like in Pokemon Black and White, both legendaries are here and both of them matter. Then new evolutions, new discoveries in larger world and a story that brings together whatever, that's not important. So that was the first thing. Right now, there are larger breakdowns of all of this, okay, but I like the kind of style of this one. It's like I'm a big fan of this one. Give him a follow. I like this style, like they say here. I missed the day, like I do miss the days of Coral leaks, I will be honest, but this is still kind of cool though. I like the collage that they made. I just hope this is not AI generated, because I've seen versions of this that are AI generated, which I'm hoping this is not the case here, but who actually knows with this stuff. Like, nowadays anything can happen. But in terms of this guy, though, Kurawashi, so he's been tweeting a bunch of stuff, and we can look through some of the stuff he's tweeted because it will give us some indications. We're going to go from the top down, right? So first of all, we see a post here from Soul Silver, who is a good friend of ours and a person who does a lot of theorizing. Now, he says that even wilder theory on what Pokemon could get an evolution based on locations in Winds of Waves called Neon Abyss, and this is, again, I guess, the underwater section. Huntail is based off of a deep sea Gulper eel, and Gorebyss literally has abyss in its name, Japanese too, while being based on the deep sea long-nosed Chimarea ghost shark, which you guys can see right here, which is terrifying looking. Maybe it's neither Lantern or Luminion that will get evolutions, but instead, maybe Huntail and Gorebyss could be the ones to get forms or evolutions for the deep Neon Abyss, which actually is a good idea. He says, oh, good eye, we'll take a look at Nincada's line as well. So that's pretty much implying that Potentially Ninkada would get a new form, which is intriguing. He also says some other stuff. He had some Q&A session and stuff. People ask him a few things. Somebody asked, also, a cross-gen Evo's codename would indicate if it's an evolution or not. For example, Annihilate was Mankey 3 in Japanese. He says a few slots are named in this sense, but I'm not sure whether that actually translates to new Evos or not. The supposed Psyduck line isn't named like that, I guess is what you're trying to say. For example, some may be hidden. I'll post some translate anyways. Ewark 2, Delville 2, Utomori 2, Monozu 3. So what could that mean? Somebody translated to Onyx, Houndoom, Salandit, and Dano. So that would be the ones we already saw on that list, right? Also, another person has confirmed this leak of like 300 Pokemon. I'm going to go back to Kurawashi again, because he's tweeted a bunch of other stuff. Somebody, I think, asked him, can you tell us how many cross-gen evolutions there are? And if you don't mind, could you reveal one of them? And impossible to say. I believe the Salandit gets one, as well as the fun regional Psyduck riddle from Icy Boy, but I can't really know for sure. And then, of course, there's this with Ball Guy, who's another leaker, saying it is very real, more than 300. Also, given an internal reminder to yourself that always give an internal reminder to yourself that things can change, be reserved for later, or scrapped entirely. But I don't think arguing semantics or potential small number differences is proactive. And then, of course, Centro reaffirms here. Ball Guy, another known Pokemon leaker, has also confirmed the information that there are more than 300 new Pokemon coming in winds and waves is happening. Again, keep in mind, it is subject to change. Like, it's very, very possible. But I am so excited, man. 300 new Pokemon. Listen, it's gonna piss off like some of those like people out there like, oh, I just want my own Pokemon. I just need Pikachu again. I want Charizard. I want Pikachu. I want Mewtwo. If I don't see my Gen 1 Pokemon, I get mad. Dude, I'm so happy. Why did I do that voice? I am just so happy, okay? I am so happy that we're actually gonna get new Pokemon, like an actual large amount of new Pokemon, which we've just gotten less and less every generation. Like, it started getting lower and lower. Like, we went from getting 100 down to like 70 or something. 100 plus, like 150, 120, and yeah, it's just like the numbers have just steadily gone down over time. And it's not just that the numbers have gone down, it's the fact that we haven't gotten new Pokemon, because we've gotten a lot of Pokemon in total, but ever since like generation 7, I think, Gen 7, so Sun and Moon, ever since Sun and Moon, if you haven't noticed, there's been a drastic increase in basically just forms of Pokemon, which I think is fine, but it is a little bit more lazy to say the least, okay? Like, I prefer them coming up with a whole new concept for a brand new Pokemon over them just taking, like, I don't know, a Starmie and just being like, I have an ID, Starmie, but we make it blue, and we say it's an ice type. Cinema. Like, it's fine, but it's not as exciting as a completely new Pokemon that can bring to life a completely new love for a new creature. Like, the thing with Pokemon is that it's cool that there are so many different ones, but if it's just a repetition of an existing one, sometimes it can work, and sometimes it's just like, did we really need this? Like, it feels like it takes up a spot for like a potentially cool new ID that could have worked, and like, let new designers or new people come up with cool concepts, because I feel like there are talented and really, really creative people out there that can make some really cool Pokemon designs. So we'll see, right? But again, this pretty much reaffirms that information. Now, here is a giant recap from none else than Lights. He made a pretty good recap of everything, and it's pretty much some of the stuff we already read about, but we're going to go through it anyways. So again, the underwater exploration is said to be a major focus, featuring shipwrecks, cave systems, and the Neon Abyss, which is a colorful coral reef area compared to the Glimwood Tangle. So that's, again, like a reaffirmation of that. Soaring is reportedly confirmed. Your scooter eventually gains deployable wings. If you don't know what he means by scooter, basically in this game, you're not going to be riding on your Pokemon, and you're not going to be riding on top of like a Koraidon type of situation. Instead, you have a scooter that basically attaches itself to a Pokemon, and you ride that. If the attachment mechanic is still there, we don't know, but we do know you're going to have some sort of scooter you're going to ride around on. I do hope it still attaches to a Pokemon, so it's basically like a sleigh, where basically your scooter is connected to the Pokemon in the front, and the Pokemon drags you forward. That would still be cool, but according to this, you're going to gain some sort of deployable wings, allowing you to reach areas inaccessible through normal travel. Then also, overworld shinies are back, along with classic shiny sound effects. The Wind Temple and the Wave Temple are two separate locations, not version-exclusive names. Both legendary Pokemon reportedly appear in both versions and play a role in the story, similar to Pokemon Black and White. That's pretty cool. The appearance and the real names of the new Pokemon remain unknown. The current build replaces them with older Pokemon models, leaving only internal codenames visible. The current build includes the new Pokemon stats, but not their actual abilities, meaning no new abilities can be confirmed yet. Battles are also described as very fun, with the new Netsu mechanic, which is the whole new, like, the new version of, like, Megas or Dynamaxing or whatever, reportedly being quite complex in its current form. Pokemon following you are reportedly returning, and they will continue following you while riding the scooter. That's awesome. It's currently impossible to determine the exact number of cross-generation evolutions. However, based on the available data, Salandit and, of course, a rumored regional Psyduck appear to be the strongest candidates. Some internal code names suggest possible new cross-gen evolutions. In Game Freak's internal naming, a number appended to a species code name can sometimes indicate a new stage in the evolutionary line. Again, we already read about that. So Onyx, potentially, Houndour, Salandit, Zweilous, or Dano, or whatever. These are not confirmed evolutions, but rather interpretations based on the internal codenames found in the current build. None of these potential evolutions should be considered as confirmed, as the current build does not provide enough information to verify them. As always, take it all with a grain of salt. So there you go. According to Central, and I don't know where he's getting this from, this is more of a theory according to him, but apparently the main battle gimmick of every generation has messed with one of the core battle mechanics each time. X and Y messed around with the concept of forms, Sun and Moon with moves, Sword and Shield with size, which is something, Scarlet and Violet with the typings and the winds and waves, and he thinks it's going to have to do with, I think it's to do with the weather, so like area effects, which in Pokemon is called range, right? The range or effective range is also referred to as the range of effect of a move is the number of types of targets given a move can be actually affect upon. So basically, if you use a move like, say, Rain Dance, right? It will affect the entire area and everything will start raining. If you use a move like Earthquake, any Pokemon on the ground, on the field, will be hit by it because its area of effect hits everything, right? And its range hits everything. So the idea is that this new mechanic, this Netsu mechanic, will more so affect things like that, right? Because it is related to weather and things of that nature. At least that's what I would assume this is trying to imply. Also, Central talks about Pokemon Winds and Waves is turn-based. We have mentioned this a couple of times already. The main change to the battle system is that there's no longer a strictly singles, doubles. Instead, any amount of opposing Pokemon can join and exit the battle at any time, like in ZA, which is pretty interesting, okay? It's pretty intriguing. Then, Gen 10 will be by far the biggest and most ambitious generation of Pokemon so far. A brand new open-world game with 300 plus new Pokemon, a new Legends game set in the past. Oh, sorry, Gen 10. So he's talking about Generation 10 as a whole, right? Because remember, Gen 10 isn't just like on its own, Winds and Waves is the beginning of the 10th generation. It is the Gen 10 game, but there are games that are going to be part of Generation 10 that aren't Winds and Waves, right? Like the next game that comes out afterwards, which isn't like a whole new generation. Like for example, let's say Winds and Waves is the Generation 10, and then you have within Generation 10, you're going to have, let's say, Legends Galar and this MMO game called Project Seed. You're going to have like something like that, which he talks about that multi-region MMO that will remake every Japanese-based region into a game. Game Freak is going all in for Switch 2, which I hope is the case, because there's a whole thing we're going to talk about right here, which comes to us from Central of all people. Apparently, there's an interesting detail from Terra Leak that I don't think was ever covered. Apparently, the Pokemon Company explicitly wants to encourage people to buy both versions of Pokemon games, which this is something I've always hated about Pokemon. No offense. I know some people are going to hate me in the comment section and be like, oh, I love buying both games. I've always hated the idea of having two split versions because realistically, there is no reason for it. It only exists to like back in the day, it was a genius marketing strategy because it basically made it so that you wanted to have one version or both versions to trade with, but it was to encourage to use the link cable feature, right? On the Game Boys back in the day. However, it's sort of like, do we really need it anymore? Like, not really. I mean, you have a game like Legends ZA where you don't actually have to have two like versions and the game still functions. I mean, I think Legends ZA is dog shit, but that's besides the point. Take Legends Arceus, for example. There, you don't have two versions and it still functions. So the idea of having these two versions and basically almost like needing people to get both to make progress or get a completed game and fully completed game is still nasty in my opinion. I am not a biggest fan of that because the intention isn't pure. It's not like you're offering, it's like you're just limiting stuff arbitrarily, which is not fun. And apparently says they have been wanting to increase the price of Pokemon games from the old $60 price since Sword and Shield, are you kidding me? Now, apparently this is not 100% correct. Apparently he might have misconstrued some information here about the translations. I've seen some people complaining and saying he's incorrect about this info, but let's see what he says. It wasn't possible back then due to the higher price not being standardized yet in North America. From the first 15 weeks of sales, 41% of players bought both versions of Sun and Moon. 50% of players bought both versions of Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. 23% of players bought both versions of Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. That is insane. If you really think about it, Pokemon sales then if you look at games like Sun and Moon as a prime example, and even Scarlet and Violet and Sword and Shield, wouldn't that imply then that if that 30 million sale amount, if 40% of people bought two versions, then it's not really 30 million people that bought individually the games, rather half of those could be removed as in being singular person buying both versions for themselves, which is kind of crazy. It's insane what Pokemon fans are willing to go out and do, which, I mean, hey, it is what it is. So again, let's go through some of the extra stuff we may have missed. This was a again, same thing as before. It's massive leaks, yada yada yada. Onyx will get a brand new one. Houndour, Wailoo, Salandit. At least in the current build, there's don't seem to be a new evolution nor a Tropius evolution. There'll be underwater points of interest. We already talked about that. There'll be areas in the world you can reach by flying. Again, we get the same stuff. Note, the evolutions could be either brand new Pokemon or regional forms of the original evos. We're not sure yet. Also, remember, this is all unconfirmed info. And then part 3.1, Nincada line may get a new regional evolution, and Clamper line may get a new regional evolution. So that was the whole thing with, I think, Huntail and all that there. So that just pretty much adds more to that whole thing. So I don't think we missed anything from these. This is all the same info. I don't think we missed any of that. Regarding the 300 plus new Pokemon, it includes new Pokemon species. It also includes new regional forms. Doesn't include the new weather forms. Doesn't include Pokemon with multiple forms like Alcremie. They're only counted once, which is good. That's fine. Okay, that's fine. Also, Mega Mewtwo Y-Raid was happening live in Times Square because he disappeared from one of the things in like the Pokemon Center in Japan, which was really funny. I think like is there a New York Pokemon Center? I think there is. But either way, continuing on to the next thing. So he does make a good point about here that if there are 300 new Pokemon in a single Pokemon game, that most of them will probably not be introduced in Pokemon Champions instantly. They're going to drip feed that, which is true. Also, again, the ball guy confirmation. I don't think we missed anything there. Pokemon Go, we already talked about that. This, again, the whole idea of Pokemon Company wanting to increase the price of their games at some point, like wishing for it. According to Rasen here, he's saying that that's not to be trusted. That's not what it says. They were figuring out how to get the most out of sales for the Switch era. Let's Go was fully priced solely to make up for the fact that it wasn't going to have DLC, which, I mean, I don't know, dude. Whatever way you want to look at the information, you can go ahead and do. And then, of course, I think we've had the same information as well right here from Pokemon Millennium. And yeah, that pretty much should summarize most of that info. I think I've gotten everything I wanted to get across in this video. Also, just about this, I want to tell you, I keep seeing people like sending me this account. Listen, I appreciate this fella following me. It's cool and all, but these are clearly AI generated. Like, I'm not crazy, right? Like, I'm pretty sure these are AI gen images that are supposed to look like leaks. I mean, this is ridiculous. Why would you be standing like this underwater? That's not how the game would look like. It's like the only one that looks realistic, but even that doesn't look realistic. It's just, again, fake images. If you see these, I've seen a few people send it my way, and I'm like, guys, I have to break it to you. These are fake. Obviously fake. But yeah, that's pretty much that, though. I don't think there's anything else to mention. Thank you all for watching. I guess I'll be seeing you guys again in the next video. Peace out and bye-bye, ladies and gentlemen.